Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to speak about envy and how we see it in the Torah. The Torah is the Hebrew Bible, and it is the guidance and truth of our lives. When we look into it, we have clarity on every avenue of our life. So today I want to speak about envy, jealousy, and what the Torah has to say about it and how can we overcome it, right? Because at the end of the day, envy is something that is part of the human experience. It's something that every human experiences at one point or another in their lives. Anybody who tells you that they've never been jealous, they're lying, because it's the truth of going through the human cycle. We all experience it, some to a greater extent, some to a lesser extent, but everybody at one point in their lives, some people for a lot of their lives, they deal with this envy. And so what does the Torah have the guidance to teach us on this avenue of life that we all struggle with at one point or another? And what can we learn? So jealousy is something that appears constantly throughout the entire Torah. And it starts from the very beginning of time, and it always repeats itself. So it starts with Cain and Abel, right? And when we want to get to the essence of something, understanding the root of it, we go to the first time that it was ever mentioned in the Torah, because the Torah is the secrets of the universe. It is the guidance of the world that the master of the universe gave to humanity. So when we want clarity on something, we look to the first time that it was ever spoken about in the Torah, and then we have all the answers we need. So the first time that the attribute of envy appears in the Torah is between Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were brothers. Cain was the older one, Abel was the younger one. And one day Abel decides to bring an offering to God, a gift to the Creator, and Abel was in charge of all of the animals of the world. That was his mastery. He was the shepherd of the world. And Cain was the master of all agriculture, all the fields, all the plants. That was his mastery. So Abel one day decides to bring an offering to the Creator of the best of his pasture, the best of his animals he brings to God. And God shows him lots of favor. Cain decides to do the same thing, but Kain brings of the simplest of his plants, right? He doesn't put so much effort into it. He brings something that's simple and he offers it to God. But we're told in the Torah that the Creator of the world showed most liking, more favoritism towards Abel's offering rather than Cain's. And Cain, we're told, a big envy arises inside of him for his brother. Why did God show more favor to my brother than to me? And he starts getting very envious. It starts growing inside of him. And then God turns to Cain and he tells him very powerful words, which I think is the clarity that we need. ויאמר אדוני אל קין, למה חרה לך ולמה נפלו פניך? הלא אם תיטיב שאת ואם לא תיטיב לפתח חטאת רובץ, ואליך תשוקתו, ואתה תמשל בו. He's telling him, Hashem tells Cain, why are you annoyed and why has your face fallen? Surely if you improve yourself, you will be forgiven. But if you do not improve yourself, sin rests at the door. Its desire is towards you, but you can conquer it. So the master of the universe is telling Cain what he's telling all of us. Ultimately, the people that we see in the Torah are all part of ourselves. A big envy arises in Cain for his brother, and God tells him, its desires towards you, but you can conquer it. So already here we have an understanding that God knows what's going on with Cain. God obviously on purpose did what he did, because there's a reason that God wants us to overcome this inherent human trait that is jealousy, that is envy, that is wanting what my fellow has, that is seeing what somebody else has and me lacking it and me desiring it. So already here God's telling us, you can conquer it, you are capable. We move forward and we see that this attribute of envy consistently repeats itself in all the brothers and the matriarchs as well. We have Abraham has two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, and Ishmael gets jealous. We move forward and Isaac has two sons, Esav and Yaakov. Jealousy arises between them too. Yaakov has 12 sons. They all get jealous of Joseph, right? Because Joseph was The more special one, the one who the father favored more, repeats itself. The father, the higher figure, favors one son more than the others, and the other sons become envious. And they get envious to such an extent that they get rid of Yosef. They fake his death, and they throw him in a pit, and they sell him off to the Egyptians. The degree of what awful things envy can get us to do. And we see with the matriarchs that envy also arises between them. Rachel, Leah, Sarah, her maidservant. We see that envy constantly repeats itself. And we move forward, and we have a character that arises, that appears in the Torah, the secrets of the universe. And that is Korach. Who is Korach? Korach is the cousin of Moses. Korach, what person was he? He was from a very prestigious family. He was from the Levite tribe, which was very high up there in the honorable realm of life. And he came from a very honorable family, and he was one of the wealthiest men in all of the children of Israel. How so? God would give them everything. How was one wealthier than the rest? Back in Egypt, Korach desired to become wealthy so greatly that he would stop at nothing to attain wealth. So he knew that Joseph, before he died, he had hid a ton of the wealth that he amassed in Egypt all throughout the land of Egypt. He hid it. And Korach did everything he could to look for this wealth until eventually he found it. He found the wealth that Joseph had left behind, and it was all his. He became super duper wealthy. He accumulated lots of wealth, and he was one of the wealthiest men in all of Israel. We're told that Korach was smart, Korach was good looking, he had a nice family, he had it all. But what happened with Korach is that he began to become envious of his cousins. One day, Moses is told by God that he has to appoint Elitzaphan as the leader of one of the sects of the tribe of Levi. And what happened, you have to understand the family dynamic of it. There's the tribe of Levi, and Levi has 3 sons. One of these sons is Kehat. Kehat has 4 sons. These 4 sons are Amram, Yitzhar, Chevron, and Uzziah. The oldest was Amram. Amram had 2 boys, Moses and Aaron, right? And they were at the highest of the high, on the honorable level of the children of Israel. Moses was the leader of all of the people, and Aaron was the high priest, the highest position there could be. Yitzhar had Korach, right? And then there's Chevron, and then there's Uzziah, and Uzziah had Elitzaphan. So comes Hashem and tells Moshe, I want you to appoint Elitzaphan, who is of the youngest cousins, as the next one to get the leadership position in the tribe of Levi. And Korach hears about this, and he's insulted, he's upset. I'm the next one after Moses and Aaron. They're the oldest cousins, but then comes me. I'm the one who should get the next position, the next highest stature. How dare you skip over me and give it to our younger cousin, Elitzaphan? And in that moment, an envy arises in Korach that once again, it's so big that it's hard for him to control. He thinks he can't control it. And he starts this rebellion against Moses. And he starts accusing Moses of nepotism, of wanting to put his family on top of the world. He starts accusing Moses that he wants power and he just wants people to be under him. He starts telling the people, we're all special, we're equal. Why should one person be above everyone else? Why should Moshe get to be the leader? Why should he get more power? It's because he wants more power. But in truth, we're all special, we're all equal. So why should one be above the rest? Essentially, he was shouting for communism, right? But the truth is that Korach was projecting onto Moses what he truly wanted. Korach wanted more power, right? Because he had it all. He had everything, right? He had the wealth, he had the intelligence, he had the looks, he had the honor because he still came from the family of Levi. He had it all, but it wasn't enough. Why so? Well, in the first words of the Torah this week, we get a clue why. The Torah starts with saying, Veikach Korach. Veikach means took. It starts with saying Korach took. In this world, there are givers and there are takers. And Korach was a taker. And when you're a taker in life, nothing will ever be enough for you. You will always be jealous. You're always going to want more. It will never be enough. You'll never be satiated. That was Korach. He constantly wanted more. It would never be enough for him. So when he saw that his cousin, his younger cousin, got a higher level of honor and prestige, He couldn't take it. It's not fair, right? It's not fair. It's mine. He wanted more honor. So Korach starts this whole rebellion against Moses, accusing him of wanting power, because in truth, Korach is the one who wanted power. And how did Korach play the scene? He couldn't go up to everybody and say and be honest, hey, I want more power, so give me more honor. I want you all to honor me, so show me honor. You can't do that. So what did Korach do? He played the role of fighting for the underdog. Korach presented himself as, I have everything. I'm wealthy. I'm of the tribe of Levi. I'm on top. I'm going to fight this war for the underdog, for all of you civilians who Moses treats like less than. Moses treats all of you like you guys are less than he. That's why he puts so much power over all of you. And I'm fighting for you guys, the ones who don't have a say, the ones who are less than. Because in truth, we are all special. We're all equal. Why should one be above the rest? And it's because Moses, he wants power over the rest of us. So he played a champion of a cause that was really all about himself. He was just fighting because he wanted more honor. But he couldn't say that. He couldn't express that. He had to figure out a way to show, to get to more honor for himself, to accuse Moses, to put Moses down in order to pick himself up higher. And how many times do we see people do that? So Korach progresses with his plan of accusing Moses of this ridiculousness, and the envy is getting the best of him. And Moses at one point tells Korach, you know what? If it is true that I am the one who's putting myself in this position of power, and I put my family at the high, I put Aaron as the high priest, and I put his sons as the priests, and I chose Elitaphan as the leader. If it is truly me who's choosing all of this, then you are going to die a normal death. But if it is God, there's a higher power at play right now, that it is actually not me who chose any of this, that God is the one who put me in this position, that God is the one who put Aaron in his position and Elitaphan in his position, that I am truly just a messenger, then you will not die a normal death, Korach. You are going to be sucked in by the ground. The ground will open up and it will suck you in. And Moses tells Korach, because in truth Korach wanted the position of high priest. He tells Korach, you and Aaron bring fire pan offerings, and the one who works, right, because you need a miracle for a fire pan offering to work, that's the one who God chooses. Korach accepted. Korach, Aaron bring the fire pan offerings, and of course, Aaron's works, and Korach's doesn't. Korach gets sucked in by the ground in that moment, and goodbye to him. What's something deeper that's going on here? Kain, who is he? In Judaism, there's different levels of soul. There's your nefesh, which is the life force of your body. There's your ruach, which is the life force of your emotions, it's in your heart. And there's the neshama, which is the life force of your mind, your consciousness. And then there's chaya, which is your higher light, and your yechida, which is your highest point of deep connection with the source of all life. Each of the different levels of our soul reincarnates. And Kain's ruach, which is the emotions, reincarnated in Korach. Because in Kain's life, one of the missions that he was sent on was to overcome the trait of jealousy and envy. And it was so powerful in him. He had a big soul. That's why God gave him such a big degree of envy, because only such a big soul could overcome such a big degree of envy. But Kain was not able to overcome it. Instead, he murdered his brother. And what happened with his brother? God tells Kain, the blood of your brother is calling to me, because the blood got sucked in by the ground. And Kain was not able to rectify. He couldn't overcome this really hard trait that was inside of him. So his ruach, which is the seat of his emotions, which is what jealousy is, it's an emotion, reincarnates in Korach. And Korach is born with this deep, deep feeling of envy. And it grows and it grows and it grows. And he is tested with such a big degree of it that it's hard for him to overcome. And ultimately, he does not overcome it. He ends up falling into the same thing again. And he's put in a very similar scene to his past life. In his past life, it was two brothers bringing up an offering to God, and God favors one over the other, and envy arises in the one that God did not favor. And in this life, Korach brings an offering as well. And what happens? He brings it with a brother of sorts, and God again favors the other one over his, and the envy arises into such a great extent that he cannot overcome it, and he passes away. So envy is something that constantly repeats itself. Something that we all go through, whether we like to admit it or not. We all go through experiences in life where we see somebody else's lot and we ask ourselves why we don't have it. And we say, why should they have it and not me? It's not fair. That's the verse that kind of repeats ourselves in our minds when we feel jealousy. It's not fair. Why do they have more and I have less? Why do they get that and not me? Or sometimes we think, I'm happy for them, but why don't I get it? Why doesn't God favor mine as well? So obviously the master of the universe built the psyche of the human being to deal with this emotion of envy. Why? Because in the infinite wisdom of the Creator, he wants us to overcome it. He wants us to feel it, deal with it, and rise above it. It's told to us in the first time that envy is mentioned in the Torah. God tells Kain, its desire is towards you, but you can overcome it. You can conquer it. With that, God tells us everything we need to know. It's big, it's hard, but you are capable. You can overcome this internal trait. Why does jealousy come up inside of us? Why do we desire what the other has? Well, in truth, everything is holy. Depends how we channel it. You see, Korach had very big soul potential. He had a very big soul power. He had the potential to reach up to the level of Moshe. How so? It's alluded to in the Torah. So the descendancy of Korach, the names are Korach, Yitzhar, Kehat, and Levi. When you take the first letters of these four names, you get the numerical value of 240. Now we take Moses, Moshe, Amram, Kehat, and Levi. When you take the first four letters of these four names, you also get the numerical value of 240. 240 in Hebrew could either give you Ram, Resh Mem, which literally means elevated, or it could give you Mar, which means Mem Resh, which means bitter. Because the letters in Hebrew are all numerical values. So Ram, elevated, 240, and Mar, bitter, also 240. In these verses is alluded the fact that Korach had tremendous soul potential, almost the ability to get to the levels of Moshe Rabbeinu. But what happened? He didn't channel it correctly. He didn't channel his soul power to the greatest extent. Instead, he let envy get the best of him. Moshe had incredible potential, and he actualized it. He elevated himself, whereas Korach fell into embitterment because he was so stuck up on comparing himself to someone else instead of focusing on building up his own life and being everything he could be. And here we have a big secret that the Torah is revealing to us as to why jealousy appears in our lives and why it could sometimes be a positive thing. That sometimes we see what other people have and we want it. God presents it before us to show us what we're actually capable of. You see, Korach saw Moses' position. He saw Aaron's position. And he said, I want that. I desire that. It should be mine. And really, what he should have done with that sensation is, I'm going to work on myself and I'm going to build myself to achieve my own personal greatness. When God presents us with people that we become jealous of, in many ways, God is showing to us a potential that we can reach to, a person that we can become. But the mistake that we make is following into victimization and trying to become exactly like that person, or just falling into the state of complaining of why do they get this? Why do they have this? Why do they have that position and not me? Instead of truly working on oneself, and that's what happened to Korach. This envy arose in him to show him, you can get to such high levels too, but you have to do the work yourself. In a sense, it's a favor that God shows us, because sometimes if we don't have this jealousy, maybe we won't be motivated to grow and to become better. So in many ways, this jealousy appears to show us our potential, because Korach had a similar potential to Moses. And that's why he wanted this higher position. But instead of channeling that power to better himself, he wasted his time in comparing himself and starting a rebellion and creating a fight and creating a problem. Kain sees that his brother brings God favors his offering, and God favors it on purpose. Why so? We won't know, we're not God. But one way I see it is to tell Kain, you are capable of this greatness too. Even more so, in your own way, unique to you. But if I don't favor this one, then you'll never amass the greatness that you're capable of. So that's one way to see jealousy. In the 10 Commandments, the 10th commandment is that you shall not covet. So when there's a mitzvah in the Torah, it means that when we don't keep it, it's a stain on our soul. So coveting, desiring what somebody else has, is a stain on the soul. It is not something that we should be okay with. That if it arises in us, we're just like, oh, we just should be comfortable with this feeling. No, we have to fight it. We have to overcome it. And God tells us that we are capable. That's why he tells Cain, you can conquer it. God wouldn't put a commandment in the Torah for the human being if it were easy to keep, because then there would be no merit in doing it. To covet is something that is hard for every human being. But the degree of how hard it is for you is the degree of how much God believes in you to overcome it. So how do we overcome it? There's many ways. But one way is understanding this concept and ingraining it in your mind. Where Korach believed that it's not fair. It's not fair. I'm older. I'm the next cousin in line. The next position of power should be mine. And that's what happens at the root of all envy. The idea of it's not fair. It's not fair. I'm better. I should get that. Why do they get it? At the root of it all is this saying, it's not fair. And you know what happens with it's not fair? It's a lack of belief in the creator of the world. Because if we believe in God, and God tells us that he is a God of justice, that he only does justice, then there's actually no such thing as not fair. God created a world on the basis of consequence, where everybody is going to get their fair share in life. And we may see things from a human perspective and think, hey, that's not fair. But everything that God does is fair. An example to paint the picture is that if you are in a courtroom, there's an innocent person and there's a guilty person, and the judge passes that the innocent person is guilty and the guilty person is innocent, you say, hey, that's not fair, right? But in God's eyes, he's the only judge. When you look at things from a heavenly perspective, that human judge actually does nothing. God is the only true judge. And God is the only one who passes the judgment onto these two people. So why does God make the innocent one guilty and the guilty one innocent? Because God sees every reincarnation. God sees every life, every action that they've committed and the consequences that are necessary for that person. And so what they receive in their life, the human judge may have been a messenger and may have been wrong, but the only one who can pass true judgment is the master of the universe. And if he passes that judgment, then it is fair for that person. In life, we get exactly what is right for us, exactly what is fair, because everything that comes to us in life is from the master of the universe, and God knows exactly what he's doing, and he gives to us exactly what's perfect for us, and exactly what we deserve. You have to erase the idea that life is not fair. It very much is so. And you have to erase the second thing that Korach held inside of him, which is entitlement. I'm the best. That's mine. It should be mine. No. Life in this world is a gift, and you are entitled to nothing. Everything that is given to us is a gift from the Creator. And every day we shouldn't think, oh, I deserve this. I should have this. No, everything's a gift from the Master of the universe. And every day we have to live in complete gratitude to God for every gift that He gives us, because it's not a given, it's a gift. The next thing to understand about envy is that if you don't put fences around yourself, then you will never overcome it. The sages say that in order to not commit a transgression, you need to put fences around yourself. What does that mean? It means that if you naturally become very envious, then you need to guard yourself from situations and actions that will arise more envy inside of you. For example, if you find yourself that you scroll through social media and you compare yourself to everything and you arise feelings of envy every time you scroll, you are committing a transgression that is creating a stain on your holy soul. Every time you do this, you may just think it's passive and it's not a big deal, but it really is. God knows the heart of every human being, and He knows the emotions that we feel. And we shouldn't put ourselves in situations that will arise negative emotions inside of us. So if you find that you're scrolling, if you find that if you go and you see something that will arise envy in you, then you're putting yourself in a situation to cause yourself a negative emotion that is causing damage to your soul. So you need to put fences around yourself. Limit who you follow. Limit the things that you see, that you allow your holy eyes to see. Limit it. Don't put yourself in situations that will arise this negative feeling inside of you. You know what that means for you. The next step to overcoming envy, which is really the step to overcoming any negative habit and trait in life, is prayer. You need to pray to God to help you overcome this. Personally, with any of my personal sins, which is negative habits, things that I do that can stain my soul, the only way that I've overcome many of them is by praying to God to help me overcome them. I like to say Psalm 51, and I'm saying the psalm in merit of Hashem, please help me overcome this sin. Please, Hashem, help me overcome this negative habit. I can't do it on my own. I need your help, Master of the universe. If you want to overcome this negative habit, being envious and being jealous, and it's not something that you want. Nobody wants to be envious. No one. It's something that comes to you. It's not necessarily something that you choose to a certain extent. It's something that comes upon you, like it came to all the people in the Torah. And you don't want it. You want to be happy for your fellow. You want to be happy when they succeed, but you feel like you can't control it. So how to overcome it? You need to pray. You need to pray that God helps you overcome it. And the last thing is understanding that you shouldn't feel shame when envy arises in you. You should realize that this is coming from God. God gave Kain that envy. God gave Korach that envy. God put them in circumstances to be envious. Why? Because in the infinite wisdom of the Creator, He wants us to overcome this trait. There's a concept that we're here in this world for tikkun midot, rectification of our character traits. That God endows inside of each of us the character traits that are unique and specific to our soul that we have the potential and power to overcome. So if you find yourself with any negative character trait that you may have, you shouldn't feel shame. You should realize that God believes in you to overcome this negative trait to the degree that you have it. God believes in you. That's why God told Kain, who is Korach, who really is the envy that arises inside of all of us, you can conquer it. You can. If you improve yourself, you will be forgiven. But if you do not, sin rests at the door. You can conquer it, God tells you. The issue with most of humanity is that we've out of convinced ourselves that we cannot, that it's too much for me. It has power over me. And that's with every sin, every negative habit, every addiction that we have. Too much of humanity has told themselves it's stronger than me. I can't do it. You have a drug addict, as an example. They say, I'm addicted to these drugs. I can't overcome this. It has more power over me. No, they don't. God tells you, you do have the ability to overcome it. The issue is that you stop believing in the power that you have to do so. The drug addict has convinced himself that the drugs have power over him. But the second he reinforces the knowing that God gave him the power to overcome his own will, to be the master of his own self, then he will become so. Everything in our lives roots from our belief in ourselves and belief in God. When we stop believing in our power, our God-given powers, then we become victim to life. Victim to our laziness, victim to our comforts, victim to our addictions, victim to our desires, victim to our envy, victim to our anger, victim to comparison. When you believe that that voice has more power than you, that all these things have power over you, that you cannot overcome them, then you won't. But if you believe you can, that you are a godly soul, and that God put you in this world specifically to overcome these things, if he put you specifically to overcome them, don't you think he'll give you the tools and the power to do so? He will. But it's not easy, it's hard. It's hard. If it weren't hard, there wouldn't be merit. So the last step in overcoming envy is believing in yourself. Believing that you have the power to overcome any negative that is inside of you. In truth, envy is one of those things that's truly between you and God. Majority of humanity, nobody truly knows your heart. No one knows your internal self. That is between you and the Creator. Overcoming this is something that's between you and God that nobody else knows about. No one knows how much you struggle with it. No one knows what it takes for you to overcome it. No one knows how much you hate feeling it and how hard it is for you to overcome it. But the work of working on it is between you and God. And the things that are just between you and God are put on a level that are so high on the spiritual spectrum that you have no idea. So work on your envy. It's in the Torah. A big root of why envy appears is to show us the potential that we have. But we should never waste our time like Korach, who had the potential to be like Moses, starting a rebellion, starting problems, because we're insulted, because we want more power. We should never waste our time on that. That's not the point of why jealousy arises. The point of why it comes is to show you you can reach as high as them in your own way. So start working on yourself. Hashem shows favor to Abel, to show Kain. You could get much more powerful yourself too. So many times jealousy appears to show you what you're capable of as well. But don't waste it on dwelling on jealousy and envy. Use that energy to build your life. Focus so much on your life that you don't have time to focus on anyone else. And my last point is that Esau and Jacob were meeting after many years apart. And Jacob wanted to give a gift to Esau. And Esau tells his brother, Yeshli Rav, I have a lot, my brother. I don't need more gifts. I'm okay. And Yaakov says, please take. I want to give to you. And Esau says, okay, I'll have them. And Esau says, I want to give to you too. And Yaakov says, Yeshli kol, I have everything. That's the difference. Esau says, Yeshli Rav, I have a lot, implying, I have a lot, but I can have more. Yaakov says, Jacob, Yeshli kol, I have everything. And that's the perspective we need to hold in life. Why did Jacob says he has everything? Because he has everything. Because everything that God gives me at every given moment is exactly what's perfect for me and what I need in my life. I don't need more than what God has given to me in this moment. we have to understand that everybody gets according to their purpose in life. And that sometimes your purpose requires certain tools, and the purpose of someone else requires other tools. So maybe your purpose needs the tool of wealth. Maybe somebody else's purpose needs the tool of poverty. Everything's a tool in life according to the mission and purpose that your soul was sent here to do. The more you waste your life comparing yourself to everyone else, the more you waste your time being everything that you can be. Be so focused on building your life that you don't have the time to speculate what everyone else is doing. Don't value your life in comparison to what everyone else is doing. It's a waste of time. You're not here to be them. You're here to be you. You're here to be the greatest version of you can be. And God will constantly put you in situations to overcome this trait until you do so. Kain came back as Korach because he didn't overcome it. God will constantly bring us back in reincarnations and in circumstances in the same exact life, a different scene, different characters, but at root overcoming the same thing, being tested with the same thing until you choose to do so. So you need to choose to overcome this trait that exists in you and know that you're not the only one. Everyone deals with it. But it's a secret. It's something that's between you and God. The world doesn't need to know about it. And overcoming it is something that's between you and God. And when you do overcome it, it's a great feeling of joy and freedom. Freedom. That I no longer need to validate my life in comparison to everyone else. My life is validated between me and God, and that's all that matters. So you are given according to your purpose, and you need to love the tools that you're given and the purpose that you have, and ask yourself, how can I use my tools to accomplish my purpose? So I hope this video was helpful to you, and let me know how it helped and if it made sense. And anytime that we need guidance in our lives, we look into the Torah and we have everything we need to know. So let me know what other videos you guys would like to see. Make sure to subscribe, to like, and let me know your thoughts. And share this video if you think anybody else would benefit. Lots of love to you, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your week.